Hello everyone. Today I want to work on the project landing page foundation scores from the Odin project. So down here you have the assignment, and basically what they want us to do is create a landing page. You're free to choose your design and what you want to put on that page, but it should look like something like this: header and a couple of sessions and a footer. So this is the page I created, and I'm going to show you the step-by-step on how to create something similar. So here you have a couple links, subscribe button, main session, social media, and footer session. So I started with an empty folder and I just dragged that folder to VS Code, and I'm going to create an HTML and a CSS file. Index.html, styles.css. So we always start with exclamation point, return, and let's connect the CSS folder by adding link, style sheet, styles.css. And I also want to import this font from Google Fonts. So here's the URL for that. Let's change the title to Space Cat Code. And let's start with the navbar. I'm going to add this comment here and also on CSS. You just add bar and star to start and finish a comment. So the nav bar will be this bar over here with the logo and the links. I created a class nav bar, and here there's a link tag for the logo. So the link I put is my YouTube channel, and the image, I created a class for the image, and the source of the image is right here. And in order for that to work, we need to add the images to our VS Code. Okay, now that I've dragged and dropped all my images to my VS Code, you could just access your images by using // and it will show the images that are on your folder. For these elements, About Us, Meet the Cat, and Coding Tutorials, I've created an unordered list with the class of nav links, and for each list item, I added a link as well, so the A tag. For About Us, when you click on it, it should take you to the About Us section on the page. Meet the Cat, same thing. And Coding Tutorials, I added an external link, so it should take you to the YouTube video. Let's go back. In order to do that, if you just want to add a session of the page itself, you need to add the ID of that page, and I can show you that later. And if you want to add an external link, you just add href and the link instead of hashtag and the ID. For the style of the page, I'm going to add a couple of global styles, which are for the whole page, and then you can just use star to select the whole page. Padding will be 0, margin 0. The background of my whole HTML document is this purple. Scroll behavior is smooth. For every H1 on the page, I'm going to use the font family I added here on HTML, and you can add backup font families as well. Font size 48 pixels, font weight 700. For every link, I'm going to use the color Alice Blue, and for every paragraph, I'm going to use the color Alice Blue. And I'm also going to add the titles of the page, which represent this area, this title, and this title. For those, I'm going to use this color. As you can see, I already changed the first title's color, which is fine because you can just add it for each element, and I will show you that later on the video. I'm going to add text shadow. I'm going to align all the titles in the center with the padding of 48 pixels. I added an extra padding on top so it looks better on the page. I'm going to add padding, a border, and a background color of black. Now for the actual navbar, this is how I styled. All these elements of the logo and the links, I displayed them in flex, aligned in the center, width of 100%, so they occupy all the space, position fixed, and the background color is this green. For the logo, I did a height of 36 pixels with margin left of 24 pixels and border ratios of 12 pixels, which makes the picture that used to be a square, it makes it that the borders are a little more round. I added a border on the logo with this color, and once you refresh the page, it has a transition of 2 seconds. So when you save, you can see that the logo has this transition. I added a header logo hover with a rotation of 360 degrees for 2 seconds. So once you put your mouse over the link, this is what happens. And then once you remove the mouse, it rotates back. For the links, I display them as flex. Same thing for the whole header. Align items center. You add list style none because normally the list comes with that line underneath. So once you add none, that line is removed. Margin left auto, margin right 12 pixels. For the links, I also add text decoration none so it wouldn't have any lines or change of colors. They're displayed as block, font size 20 pixels, padding 16 pixels. So they have a little space between each other. And for the nav links hover, I added this purple color. The cursor is a pointer. Their color is Alice blue. And text shadow is 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 1 pixel, and black. So once you put your mouse over it, you can see that it changed the color, the background color, but the text color continues to Alice blue. That's what I selected, and that's working for all the elements here. Now let's add the main information session. I'm going to comment as main info, which represents this area right here. For this area, I added the title, a little text, and a button with a link, and also a picture with a link that takes you to the YouTube channel. So for this area, I created a class of main. I created a div with the ID of title session, another info class, and text box class. The H1 here is space cat code, and the paragraph is this line right here. We love sharing coding tutorials for beginners on YouTube. And this is how you create this button right here. For the button, I wrapped it around. First, I created the button, which is just the button tag. I created a class for the button and the words subscribe. And then I wrapped the button tag around with an A tag, which is the link, and added the YouTube URL. And once you click on this button, it will take you to the YouTube channel. There it is. Let's go back. And I did the same thing for this picture. So same idea as the button. I added an image with a class, source of the image, which is right here. This image is this screenshot. And I wrapped the image tag around an A tag, which allows you to create a link. And the link is this one. So let's test this. Once you click on the subscribe button, it takes you to YouTube, and the link is also working for this picture. Now I'm going to show you the CSS for this area. This is the CSS for the main info session. For the title session, it's displayed as flex, justify content center, and align items center. The background position also center. For the info session, which is all this, as you can see here in HTML, class info, I display as flex, justify content center, align items center. The height for this session is 400 pixels. I added a max width and a margin. The text box represents this area, and you can also find that out by inspecting the page. So if you click with the right button, select inspect, and you want to know what each part represents, you just come here on text box and you can see that it represents the title plus the text plus the button. And if you want to check the style for that area, you go here on the right side on styles, and you can see what happens if you change anything on that style. So you can say display flags. See how it changes, flex direction. And you can also test new styles. So for instance, let's try a different padding and see how that looks. So you can change things on your code here, but that will not change on your VS Code. But you can test new features here and then add to your code. Let's try padding left 500. So you can see how everything moved this way. Let's try 50 or 5. And that's how you test things on the page without necessarily changing your code and coming here on the page every time to check. Okay, let's unselect that. Okay, so for the text box, we display the items as flex in a direction of column, occupying each one space. We align the items as flex start, and the padding left is 32 pixels. For the H1 text box, I decided to change the color. Remember how we added all the titles should be this color, but I decided with this background, the green color actually looks better, so I just changed that. And the rules are whatever you put on the global selection, this is what will happen unless you call the class and change. So if you're calling that class, it has a priority. So that's why the color changed to green and is not pink. For the text box paragraph, which is this line, I added color of Alice blue, padding bottom of 30 pixels. The main image, which is this image, I select a max width of 400 pixels. I also want a little rounded on the corners, so you add border radius 12 pixels and the padding top of 85 pixels. For the button, I added font weight of 900, padding of 4 pixels top and bottom, and 24 pixels left and right. Also want a little rounded, so I added border radius 12 pixels. Background color is the pink, and margin left 130 pixels. And the subscribe button hovers, so when your mouse is over it, I added a pointer cursor and a background color of Alice blue. So it's pink, and when you go over it, it's Alice blue. So for this session, the title is Meet Kika, and I created a div with a class kitty for each picture with their text. So for the picture, you're going to add an image tag, create a class for it, add the source of your image, so add a little description for each picture, and you're going to create another div with another class for the text that's going underneath the picture. This is the text, and you're going to do the same thing for all 3 images. So there it is. You're going to close those divs, and now we're going to style that session. Let's add the style to CSS, and I'm going to go over each one. So for the Meet the Cat session, as you can see, the pictures are displayed as flex in a row wrap, which means if you change the size of the screen, they will adjust itself going under each other like this. So the cat container, like I said, is displayed as flex, is displayed as flex, the container is on the center. Flex flow is row wrap. Background color is black. I added a padding on the bottom so it's even. The cat class represents this whole area. The kitty session is displayed as flex in a column direction, and the items are aligned in the center. Their width is 300 pixels. They have a gap in between each other of 8 pixels with a padding of 24 pixels. The color is Alice blue, and the text shadow is black. For the picture, I added width and height of 200 and a border of this light green. The border ratios is 32 pixels. I added a box shadow, but later I changed the background to black, so that won't show up here. And the object is cover, which covers this whole space. For the text, I select a different font family. The text is also aligned in the center. So if the text is a little longer, it just keeps going down, because I also display as flex wrap with a max width of 200 pixels, font size 18 pixels, and the font weight is bold. Now let's add the message session on HTML. This is how the message session looks like. Very simple. We're going to create an ID and class, add the message as a div, and for the name, I'm just going to add a paragraph. Very simple. And to style that on CSS, I'm going to add the message CSS, padding top 50 pixels. The color of the text is Alice blue. These items are displayed as flex in a column direction. I added some padding. The background color is this green. The border bottom is black, 1 pixel. You don't really need that, but I had this session in a different color, so that's why I added that, but you can just delete this if you want. The font size 24 pixels. Line height is 150%. Font style italic, and height is 350 pixels. The P, the message session P, text align is end. That's why it's at the end of the line. Font style normal, font weight 600, color black, and padding top of 30 pixels. Now let's style and add the Let's Connect session. Let me add a comment to this session. Let's connect. For this session, I added a title and 4 links. I added 2 pictures for YouTube and GitHub. And links on their description as well. And this code with the pictures, the HTML and CSS will be available on my GitHub, which I'll leave down on the description. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me to keep going and learning, and your subscriptions and comments are really important, and it makes me want to keep posting more content and improving the channel. So thank you for subscribing. All right, so we have the title, which is Let's Connect. And here we have 2 divs with a image and a text with a link. And I did the same thing twice. So here, first, this image, this YouTube image, it's just a regular image with a class. Here's the source of the image. And I wrapped this tag with an A tag to add the link. Then I added a P tag with the text YouTube and spacecat code, YouTube spacecat code. But on spacecat code, I also wrapped that with the A tag to add the link. So now if you go on the picture, that will take to the YouTube channel. And if you click on the text, it will also take to the YouTube channel, because that's the link that I added. And I did the same thing for the GitHub, but instead of adding the YouTube URL, I just changed to the GitHub URL. So same idea. Let's style this session. I'm going to add the contact session to CSS. So these items just like the other items previously, are displayed as flags in a column direction. They're in the center. Text are aligned in the center with 100%. Background color is black. Position is center. And the background size is covered. Font weight is bold. And text shadow is black. Margin bottom is 100 pixels. Contact info is also displayed as flags in the center. They have a gap of 12 pixels. And the margin bottom is 24 pixels. Font size is 20. The icons are 30 pixels height and width. The color of the font is white. I'm actually going to change that white. Text decoration none. Font weight bolder. Text shadow. You can also delete the text shadow because the background is black. I added that because I had a different background color before. So that won't matter in this case. When you go, the hover has a light sky blue color. When your mouse go over the text decoration none, font weight bolder, and you don't really need the text shadow in this case. Last session is the footer, very simple. I added a P tag with the copyright text. I added the YouTube channel here on SpaceCat Code, and I added the Odin project link for the Odin project text. You're done with the HTML. So this is how the HTML looks like. And let's style the last session on CSS. The footer has a padding of 24 pixels, text align center, color Alice blue, background color is this purple color, and the links are Alice blue as well. And the way I selected these colors to match each other, I just Google space color palette and I added the colors that I wanted. So for example, the purple, you just copy the color, and you can add, for example, background color, and you do hashtag, and VS Code already shows you automatically the colors that you have used previously. So I've used these colors previously, and that's why they're added here. Or you can manually add the color code. And that's it for the landing page project on Odin project website. And you can find many more projects at the end of the page. So if you scroll all the way down, you have many different pages that are great examples to follow and get ideas from. And this code from this video is going to be available on my GitHub. You have all the images, the HTML, and the CSS if you want to have this code as a sample for your own landing page. That's it for this video, and I'll see you on the next project.